Greetings comic lovers and welcome back to Casually Comics, the channel where we chat all things comics, from reviews of comics new and old to history to anecdotes, really wherever our whims take us. Scarlet Witch and Vision have a complicated relationship. They also have a complicated relationship with retcons, both as a couple and as individuals. Now the WandaVision romance largely sprung out of a desire by writing staff to pair two characters together that were only in one book, that being the Avengers, so they could avoid all of that cross-book continuity and the headaches that came with that. But this pairing became so much more. A couple that some writers would come to have a real affinity for, while others seemingly sought to tear them apart. The thing is, because of that let's pair characters from one comic start, it can be a bit hard for newer readers who just want a WandaVision fix to find a way to jump in. That is without having to open the Marvel encyclopedia to what exactly is going on, which depending upon what era and where you jump in can be a lot of a lot. Now quick, hold the wiki open so you can figure out what's happening around them. It's only fun if you want to do it. A good example of this is their wedding in giant-sized Avengers number 4 from 1974. So much else is happening in that issue. It is just jam-packed with so many things, so many people's backstories and a whole bunch of notes and editors' notes and characters expositing in the story to explain to you and catch you up with what exactly is happening. Mantis Backstory, Moondragon Backstory, Mantis is made an Avenger, Dormammu plot, Kang the Conqueror plot. This is actually one of two weddings in that issue. They hop onto the first wedding that's happening. Yay, double wedding. And slightly awkward Hawkeye, because he used to be involved in the love triangle in this relationship. Oh yes. Scarlet Witch and Vision were also integral members of the West Coast Avengers. But that again is a team book. If you want some mostly solo focused on them WandaVision action, well you're in luck. I have a series for you, actually more than one, but I'm going to tell you about the first one. A 4-issue miniseries called The Vision and Scarlet Witch. Just getting right to the point, though not as succinctly as just calling the series their ship name, WandaVision. Although when it comes to the show, that's also clearly a play on words, a little bit of a pun for how we're seeing things, the perspective we're seeing them from, and also the whole television aspect. I see you. It was clever. You thought about it. Know it and appreciate it. So potentially if you're coming here because you're enjoying that series and you want a comic guide as to where to start or just something to look at, or if you just are curious about these characters in general, or you just want to hear me talk about any comics at all, well, I have a tale for you. You have come to the right place. But before we get started, I'm Sasha, and if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Join us in this comic book journey. The Vision and Scarlet Witch come to us from the year 1982 through 1983. This series was written by Bill Mantlo with art by Rick Leonardi. Its focus is on Wanda and Vision taking some time away from the Avengers to try and just have some couple time. But it doesn't happen. Life won't let it happen. Adventure follows them. So the canon around these two has shifted a lot over the years. So here are some of the core things you need to know for this time period for this series to make sense. Wanda is a mutant at this point. This is actually the series that reveals that Magneto is her and Quicksilver's father. A reveal that they'd been seeding for a bit in both the Avengers and the X-Men books at the time. This was a huge plot point and became one of the foundations of these two characters for a time. A long time. In fact, it's still one of the things that many who aren't dipping into and keeping up with comics know about them, even though that actually has changed. There was a retcon in 2014 during the Axis event wherein it was made that was no longer their backstory, largely because of synergy and horizontal marketing purposes behind the scenes, because of who owned what at the time, who owned the Avengers, who owned the X-Men, who could use them in films, how we could get around the fact that technically both companies, Fox and Disney, kinda sorta owned a little piece of each. It's how you have a Quicksilver in both universes, only the one in the MCU dies. Now instead of being mutants, they had been modified by the High Evolutionary and then tricked into believing they were mutants and that Magneto was their father. Complicated and convoluted. Hooray! And now Disney owns the X-Men and can use the word mutants and Magneto anyway, so it was all for naught. Yay. Synergy. It's fine, and so am I. Back here in 1982, it's simple days. Wanda is a mutant with probability alteration powers. She actually defines how they work in this issue, which is helpful. She's also been trained in witchcraft and hexes, so she is also a witch. She is a mutant witch. Vision is a synthezoid in the body of what was once the Human Torch. The first Human Torch, Jim Hammond, the Golden Age Human Torch, not the second Human Torch, Johnny Storm from the Marvel Renaissance, aka the Silver Age. At this point, Ultron had repurposed the Human Torch and implanted the brain patterns of Wonder Man, who was dead for a time. So much of all of this has been retconned. Another notable point is that this period in Vision's history, he is more man than machine. He has emotions and feelings and he's passionate and he especially loves Wanda. That's the big dominant feeling. It's not till John Byrne's Vision Quest in 1989 that he is stripped of that, having memories and emotions removed, in the same series that transforms him and Wanda's children into constructs, fragments of Mephisto, and destroys their marriage. Wait a minute. Marriage destroyed? Mephisto? I want your marriage. Mephisto strikes again. Even though it's actually Franklin Richards who caused the parts of his soul to break apart. Vision Quest is a controversial storyline, by the way. So back here in this series, Wanda and Vision are just a happy couple who, despite all of their seeming oddities, Synthezoid and Mutant, were pretty normal. Now, if you seek out the series by title, you'll come across a second entry by the same name from 1985, which is a sequel series by Steve Englehart. This is the series in which their children are born, and there's a focus on that, magic, family-friendly action, well, family-oriented action. I'm not sure if it's family friendly. For our 1982 outing, we start off with a Halloween-style affair. Night of the Living Druid. Wanda's classic costume. So extra, but I love it so. Vision's muted color tones are because he's phasing. And we have our villain for this outing, who will turn out to be Sam Hain. For it is Halloween. Wanda and Vision are moving into their new home on Halloween night, which seems like a terrible idea, especially for people in the superhero business who know that the supernatural exists. Look, that little kid is dressed as Spider-Man. His mom doesn't believe he's a menace. Trick or treat! Well, darling?
It appears I have no choice but to treat these apparitions. But it also appears I have no treats. Thus, I fear that my offering shall have to be trick.
The kids start following them because they think it's really cool to have superheroes in the neighborhood. I love that Vision is just wearing a sweater over his massive collar. Once they enter their home, they see that Jarvis is there, butler to the Avengers. He's there cuz he just says that he knew that they were moving in today and he's come to help unpack. Jarvis, it's okay, you can take a day off. You've earned it. Captain America has given him a gift to give to Wanda because Steve likes to give his friends cursed books. Do you know, summon some ancient spirits, a gift for the couple that has everything, the perfect housewarming present, a ghost. So Wanda flips through the book, but then thinks there are better ways to spend their first night in their new home. I don't know why I'm waggling my eyebrows. They flat out come out and say what they're planning on doing. There is no need to play coy. But they decide that they should unpack first, and in the midst of all of this, all they're making out, they don't notice that book opened by itself. Dun dun dun! We get cliff notes on both their backstories, like extreme cliff notes. A panel, for example, for Wanda to go from Brotherhood of Mutants to Avengers to marrying Vision. Now that's what I call concise. Vision gets a similar panel, but their move on Halloween night is about to go awry and be interrupted by a ghost. An energy leaves the book, possessing the children who were still watching the house, and they enter. Trick or treat, inhuman scum! Oh, you get neither trick nor treat for that. You get a reprimand for your harsh words. We are children no longer, but the servants of he who would live. That's not as menacing as it's supposed to sound. Many people would live. Also, when I was typing it out, I wrote he who would love. That would be a very different comic reading experience. It's Cupid. He's come to welcome them to their home. They'd have to move in on Valentine's Day for that to happen though. They battle, and it turns out the ghost costume child has been turned into an actual ghost and can phase through Vision, which is apparently agonizing. Sam Hain meanwhile manifests in front of Wanda, and love that design. Look at his belt. Strong villain aesthetic. He monologues intensely about his origins, and I must say, he gives good monologue.
Mankind seeks to placate his fears by giving them form. I was born here in mankind's terror. They worshipped me, begged me for salvation. I rewarded them with death. I was there. I am Madness Witch. I am fear. I am the irrational. I am Sam Hain, eternal embodiment of All Hallows Eve.
The 20th century has no use for so ancient and evil. The 21st century though. Not sure yet, we'll get back to you. And so they battle as Wanda must decide which is more advantageous, her mutant powers or her witchcraft, deciding upon a fusion of the two. Vision and Jarvis are working on taking down the possessed children without hurting them, and Jarvis even gets in a good hit. There's no butler in team, but there is an I in Jarvis. I don't know what that means. While Vision does come in to help, he gets tangled up with the ghost, so Wanda has to deal with Sam Hain on her own, which she does by burning the book from whence he came. For she realized that even though he appeared outside of it, he was still bound to it. She knows the rules of cursed books, like a good witch should. He needed her magic to escape, but he didn't get it. He spent too long monologuing, but it was worth it though. It was a great speech. The kids don't remember anything, and they think they just had a great time hanging out with some heroes, helping them move in. I would help some Avengers move in. I mean, maybe. Depends which ones. Depends how heavy their boxes were. Lots of factors. But the evening's not done just yet, for just as they have ushered off the kids, the doorbell rings and it's Wanda's father, Legasp. No, not Magneto, the Golden Age wizard. That was who their father was at that time. So that's being retconned in this issue. Again, as I said, retcons upon retcons for them all the time. Now he thinks he was their father, but he was wrong because there were other shenanigans. I guess convoluted retcons are a tradition with them, so maybe that Axis one isn't so far out of place. You can never see a parental retcon coming. How do already a plan for that. So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that you should never accept a housewarming gift from Captain America. We also learned that being in a loving marriage doesn't mean that your tenure as an interesting character is over. Far from it. There are still plenty of plots you can partake in. Ghosts can still try to possess you and ruin your move-in day. And it's just as exciting as if it happened while you were single. This is just issue 1, as mentioned, of 4. I'm just giving you a taste. This is a great miniseries. Each issue is like its own adventure, even though the second issue does lead off of this one, but it's also a self-contained story. It gives you notes to catch you up on the canon you need. It focuses on the 2 leads, both as individuals and as a couple, putting them front and center and also highlighting how they interact with other characters in the Marvel Universe. You get a sense of Wanda as a sister, to Quicksilver, their relationship to the various Avengers on the team, Vision's relationship with Wonder Man, how he views him somewhat as a brother but not, because, you know, sharing the same brain patterns. In issue 4, you get the Magneto reveal. It's such a good issue, and Magneto meets his grandchild. It's emotional drama, and it gave me life. Now, it's not perfect. As mentioned, it can be a lot of a lot. So if you're not familiar with the universe or all the characters, even with the notes they give, it could be like, who is that? Quicksilver has a kid? Who's Crystal? Why is he with the Inhumans? What's happening? Also, the art at times can get a little rough. But if you're looking to get into these 2 characters and get a sense of them in their heyday when they were really coming into their own, this is worth picking up. The Scarlet Witch and Vision are unique in that they undergo a decent period of growth together as a couple, so it ends up informing who they both are as characters. It's why even in the modern era at the time of this recording, you will still see them referenced in relation to each other. It's a relationship that keeps coming up because it's so intrinsically part of informing who they are. This series makes a strong case for this couple by showing them as loving and a unit, but capable of functioning separately, just stronger and happier together, happy to have found each other in their mad, mad world. The kind of thing that makes you go, oh gee, I sure hope that nothing happens to interrupt their love. I sure hope a story doesn't come along and destroy them and erase their children from existence and cause them to get divorced and cause Wanda to go insane. That would be really sad. Vision Quest. Vision Quest is interesting, but depending upon how you feel about the characters and their relationship, it's either a revelation or a character assassination. Although again, if you're not attached to any of the lore, it could be a completely ambivalent reading experience. Depends on where you are and how you're coming at it. But of course, these are all my thoughts, my opinions, my musings, and I want to hear yours. Have you read this series? If so, what did you think? Do you enjoy the Scarlet Witch and Vision together? How do you feel about the various retcons they've endured? Are you like me and forever bitter about some of them? I can't get over the Magneto's not their dad one, and it's been years. And yes, of course, feel free to talk about the show too. Do all the talking down there, and while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.